Today, we're going to be talking about 5 different theories on what magic might be, the one thing they all have in common, and how you can put it to work in your life. I'm Nathan Frazier. This is Success Magica, and let's just go ahead and jump into it. Today, we're going to be talking about what magic is. And at its core, most magicians, most believers in magic are anti-materialist, or they're not exclusively materialist. They don't believe that the material world is the extent of everything that exists. They believe that there's more going on than what we can measure in the material world, that there's some sort of energetic force to the universe that we haven't been able to scientifically measure, but we do have the ability to use to influence reality into the directions that we want it to go. Now, there are a lot of different theories, a lot of different practices, a lot of different belief systems around how this stuff works. None of them are mutually exclusive. There's a lot of overlap between the different ones. And I, by no means, am an expert on any of them, and I am not a professor that has spent half of my life studying the different theories and concepts and philosophies. I am somebody who dabbles in the exploration of these different theories, and so I'm going to today present 5 of the more common belief systems around what magic is, how it works, how it's explained, and do my best to paint each one with a broad brush, with the understanding that different people can often see the same thing in different lights. And so some of the things that I say might not feel right to you, might not ring true to you, might contradict one of these belief systems as far as you understand it. That doesn't mean either one of us is right, and it doesn't mean either one of us is actually wrong. Because like I said, oftentimes people can have a very similar belief system and see core parts of it in completely different lights. So what I'm going to attempt to do today is break down the 5 most common definitions, understandings of magic that I have come across, and give my interpretation of them with an admittedly limited understanding of each one. And then at the end, give you a little bit of practical insight of something that you can use in your own life to help accomplish your own goals. So stick around for that, and let's just go ahead and jump into it. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is arguably one of the oldest. It's paganism, and paganism is kind of a pantheist ideology of a bunch of different gods out there. And there's not just one version of paganism or one religion that encompasses what paganism is. Paganism was kind of the blanket statement, the blanket definition that was given to all of the old polytheistic religions when the monotheistic Abrahamic Christianity started to come up and take power over Europe at the time. And so when people referred to paganism, what they were talking about was like the worship of the old Greek gods, the worship of the old Roman gods, the worship of the Norse gods. So all of these religions that existed before Christianity, and where they worshipped a bunch of different gods for different aspects of life, those were all kind of lumped together into the catch-all phrase of paganism. And people that still practice paganism to this day kind of see magic as an appealing to those different gods and to their ancestors in order to get the things that they want. So rituals and spells and ways to appeal to those different gods for different things that they want throughout life. Which is kind of funny, because one of the things about Catholicism that's always reminded me of paganism, that might have even swapped this in from paganistic beliefs, is having different saints that have different qualities. So you have a saint that you pray to when you need to find your car keys, or a saint that you pray to when you need a raise at work, or a saint that you pray to when you want a stronger relationship with your spouse. This is very similar to a lot of pagan beliefs, where there's a god that you pray to when you want to have a prosperous year, and there's a god that you pray to when you want revenge on somebody who did you wrong, and there's a different god that you pray to when you want to make sure that your wife is faithful to you. So just like Catholicism has different saints that you pray to for success in different areas of life, paganism has different gods that you pray to for success in different areas of life. A more modern version of spirituality and magic is animism, and animism varies a little bit from paganism, where paganism thought that the spiritual world was made up of these different gods and ancestors, the people who came before us. Animism sees the spiritual world as encompassing all kinds of different things. Everything out there has its own spirit. So it's not just humans that have spirits, it's not just animals that have spirits, but also flowers and grass and even hills and cities and areas each have their own spirit. And maybe not everything has a spirit, but I've heard animists explain that even rocks and roads might have a spirit. So it doesn't have to just be living things, that most everything out there can have its own spirit. And it also has the belief, it also kind of sees the world through the idea that plants, an individual plant might have a spirit, but that whole class of plants might also have its own spirit. So ayahuasca might have a spirit to it. Marijuana might have a spirit to it. Roses, a specific strain of rose, might have a spirit to it. So the animism is the idea that all around us, everything around us has a spiritual nature to it, has a soul or a spirit to it, not just animated objects like humans and animals and flowers and plants, but also going to inanimate objects like rocks, roads, maybe even buildings, hills, geographic locations. Everything has a spirit. And magicians who adopt this ideal of animism often ask these spirits for help attaining the things in life that they want. So they might ask the local spirit of the city to help them accomplish great works of success in that city. They might ask the spirit of the land that they farm on to help bring about a beneficial or bountiful harvest that year. And they might also ask the ancestors, the spirits of their ancestors, for help and guidance as well. The idea is that everything around us is just brimming with spiritual energy, and it's not just human beings that have spirits. That we very much live in a world that just beyond the veil is overflowing with spiritual activity, and we can interact with those spirits and have them help us in whatever our goals or whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish in this life. So that's animism. Let's go ahead and move on to Hermeticism. And Hermeticism is, well, this one is a wide topic. There's a lot of different Hermetic beliefs. This is kind of where I found my introduction into the world of magic, was through Western Hermeticism. And that encompasses things like Freemasonry. It encompasses things like the Golden Dawn. A lot of people that are into ceremonial magic, where they put the robes on and they do the different rituals. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the middle pillar meditation, the Kabbalistic cross. A lot of these things are from the Hermetic tradition. One of my favorite books on trying to understand the universe is called The Kabbalion, and it is very much rooted in Hermeticism, Hermetic traditions. And Hermeticists, for the most part, believe that there is some sort of meta or underlying consciousness that makes up reality, that there's this universal consciousness, and we are but a microcosm of it, a little tiny fractal representation of the global or universal consciousness. It is what we would call, for lack of a better term, God, and we are created in its image, and we are fractals. We are miniature versions of the greater thing. And one of the fundamental principles of Hermeticism is the idea that our brain, our mind, is not just a receiver of information from the universe, not just an interpreter of information, but also a sender of information, a way to communicate to the universe. Because everything in the universe is mental and comes from the mind of the all, the mind of the Almighty, the mind of God. And since we are inside of that, our mind is a way to communicate directly with it. Our mind gives us the ability to communicate directly with the universe. And in that belief system, magic is merely a way of learning how to tune your brain, tune the frequencies that are coming from your mind to project out your will into the universe and have the universe respond by molding itself to what it is that you want to see. So magic is the understanding that we are all part of this greater consciousness, that we are all receivers and senders of information from and to this greater consciousness, and that as such, our consciousness can affect and impact and guide the reality around us. And like I said, this is where I first found myself falling down the rabbit hole of magic. So this is the one that holds the most truth for me, but I don't disqualify any of these other theories. This is just the one that seems most real to me at this part in my journey. The next one that I want to talk about is kind of a new theory that seems to be sparking up. I know a lot of people that have been in magic for a while. They're into a lot of like the quantum physics and quantum mechanics, and some of them are adopting the idea that we live inside of the matrix model of magic, the simulation theory. And the idea is that with technology advancing the way that it is, with video games getting as advanced as they are, as graphics getting as advanced as they are, with the possible connection of the human mind to computers in the very near future, where you can just hack a video game system into the back of your brain and you don't even need to play with controllers anymore. The idea that technology is advancing so quickly that within a few generations, maybe within our generation, we might see a time where video games get so realistic that when you're plugged into the video game, you won't be able to distinguish it from reality. It'll look so good that your eyes won't be able to tell the difference. It'll sound so good that you'll believe you're actually there, that by directly plugging into the neural aspects of your brain, they'll be able to trick you into seeing, hearing, smelling things, tasting things, even feeling things that aren't actually there. The idea is that if that technology is only 10, 15, 20 years away, how do we know that we haven't already reached that point and we're now living in that exact same simulation? And that what we believe is reality is actually a computer-based simulation that we're all living in and we're just not aware of it. A digital dream, so to speak. And as avatars, as players inside of this giant video game, this super advanced simulation, we have access to cheat codes. We have ways to hack the game that allows us to play on what people might call God mode. That magic, in fact, is just hacking the matrix. It's not magic the way that it's been portrayed or most commonly known as, like in the Disney movies with magic wands and any of these other ideas that I've espoused today, animism, paganism, hermeticism. Simulation theory puts forth the idea that magic itself is just a list of cheat codes, a way to trick the system into giving you special powers that you shouldn't have. It's a way to push up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, BA, select start, and get extra powers that the average player doesn't have access to. Now, do any of these belief systems actually reflect what's really going on? I have no idea. I know that there are ways to hack the universe. I know that there are ways to influence reality. I've seen a lot of things that make me believe that maybe there is some sort of spiritual aspect of reality that science and most modern people are completely ignorant of. But I don't know if any of these theories, any of these views on it do a good job of really explaining what's going on. And I've known people of any of these belief systems that have been able to make what we call magic work for them. And that leads us into the fifth type of magic that we're going to talk about today, and that is Chaos Magick. And Chaos Magick came to being in the latter part of the last century, like the 1970s, 1980s. And Chaos Magick is kind of the belief system, the worldview that any of these systems might be the right one. And The Chaos Magician has the ability to adapt their own belief system in order to do the working that they want to get accomplished. So if they're trying to accomplish something that calls upon the ancient Roman gods, they, during that ritual, will 100% believe in paganism and believe in the Roman gods. If they're trying to cast some sort of magical spell that relies on the ancient Norse gods, then while they're doing that, they believe in the Norse gods. If they're trying to accomplish something that comes from the animist worldview, then they buy into the animist worldview while they are working that magic. If they're trying to do something like the LBRP, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, then while they are doing that, they are 100% bought into the Western Hermeticist ideas that brought that forth. If there's some sort of ritual that requires the belief in the simulation theory or a holographic universe theory, then while they're doing that ritual, they 100% buy into the simulation theory or the holographic universe theory. Chaos magicians kind of treat magic like an all-you-can-eat buffet. They're like, I'll take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and oh, that looks good. And they fill up their plate that way, and they don't really have a specific belief system as to what makes all of this stuff work, what the truth of the magical aspect of the universe is. They seem to be more interested in results, more so than understanding what's causing those results. Now, of course, these are just 5 different aspects or theories on magic that I wanted to cover today. There's a bunch of other ones. There's voodoo, hoodoo, Christian mysticism, Kabbalah, and then also there's the traditional Christian view that magic is just satanic. It's just consorting with demons, which I'm not completely sold on that one, but who knows? It might be the reality of everything. All magic might just be making deals with the devil. If it does end up being the case, expect me to capitalize on it. I'll convert back to Christianity. I'll write a book about how Jesus saved me from the evils of witchcraft, and I'll go on a tour where I go from church to church preaching for a paycheck because, you know, at heart, I'm just a greedy capitalist. But on a serious note, I have no idea which one of these is the real truth behind what magic is and why magic works. Maybe none of these belief systems even come close to explaining it, but I do know that it works, and I do know that there is one particular thing that kind of ties all of these together. There's one particular aspect, and it's actually 6 different steps, but no matter what the worldview or the belief system behind what magic is, these 6 steps are kind of the core backbone to having success in any of them. And so to close them out, I'm going to go through 6 steps to making magic work for you, no matter what belief system you adopt when it comes to your magical practice. And really, I kind of adopted all of these before I even knew that they were part of a magical system. And they were working for me long before I discovered magic at all. But once I did discover magic and started investigating the different views on it, I noticed that all of them, at least for the people who were successfully practicing it, kind of had these 6 things in common. So let's just go through them. Number 1 is clearly defining what it is that you want. And this is just a no-brainer. If you want something, but you don't take the time to clearly define it, you won't know how to get to it. Other people won't know how to deliver it to you, and the universe won't know how to deliver it to you. So number 1, clearly define what it is that you want. Number 2, speak of it and think of it as if you already have it, as if it's already guaranteed. So don't think of it as what you want, think of it as what you have, and you're just waiting for the universe to align with that understanding. You're just waiting for the universe to bring it into being. Number 3, and this is the hard part, visualize and really feel what it will be like to have it. Spend time thinking about what will my life be like when it is the way that I want it to be, when this particular aspect is real for me. When I wake up, when I go about my day, when I go to bed at night, when I interact with people, how will it be different once this particular aspect of my life is the way that I want it to be? What will that look like? What will that feel like? And spend time visualizing it, feeling it, really living into it. For some reason, and I don't quite understand how this works, but creating it in your mind and really bringing it to life in your imagination, it seems like it starts to send out frequencies, send out a resonance energy to start building it and manifesting it in the world around you. Again, I don't know how, but I've seen it work over and over again. So now that you've clearly defined what it is that you want, now that you speak of it as if you already have it, now that you've visualized and really lived into it, you've embraced what it'll feel like once you're actually there. Step number 4 is to start acting in ways that align with it being so. So if your goal is to be rich and successful, start acting in ways that align with rich and successful. If your goal is to lose weight or be healthy, start acting in ways that align with a healthy lifestyle. If your goal is to have a good relationship, start acting in ways that align with somebody that has a good relationship. A lot of this is about putting as many cards in your favor as you possibly can. And yes, the mental stuff, the visualization, it's important, but your actions need to be in harmony with what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Having your actions be in alignment with what your will is just makes it that much more likely that your will comes into being. And then number 5, once you've got all of those pieces in place, just chill. Relax, assume that it is so, assume that it will be taken care of, have some faith. If you're constantly worried about will it actually happen, if you're constantly second guessing yourself, second guessing the universe, second guessing whatever power it is that can make these things possible, if you're assuming the worst, you're putting out contradictory energy. You're putting out mixed messages. So once you've done the first 4 steps, you've made your prayer to the universe, to the Almighty, you've put your will out there, you've cast some spells or did some sigil work, sit back, relax, have some faith, and assume your wish fulfilled. And then number 6, and this just applies to all areas of life, exercise a spirit of gratitude. Because people always think I'll be happy when, I'll be grateful when I have a loving husband or a loving wife, I'll be happy. When I finally lose these last 15 pounds that I'm trying to shed, I'll be happy. When I finally get that promotion, when I finally have the successful business, I'll be happy when. But the truth is, if you're not able to find happiness now, a change in circumstances isn't going to do it for you. And if you're not currently grateful for all the blessings that the universe has bestowed upon you, why would the universe want to continue bestowing blessings on your ungrateful ass? Just think about it. If you gave somebody a gift as miraculous as the gift of life, and they were still finding constant reasons to be ungrateful, to complain about things, to be unhappy with things, how likely would you be to continue giving gifts to that person? That's why I am constantly looking for things to be grateful for. I'm constantly exercising a spirit of gratitude. And not just because I want more stuff or I want more blessings, but because I truly do appreciate all of the tiny little miracles, all of the bounty of blessings that I have in my everyday life. And the quickest way to get more magic in your experience is to appreciate the magic that's already there. Now, the thing is, most people do the first 5 steps all the time, but they do it in the expectation of all of the things that could go wrong in their lives. So they clearly define what they don't want, but they don't clearly define what they do want. And they say things to themselves like, this is going to suck, or I'm not going to have a good time, or this isn't going to work for me. And they spend all of their time visualizing the worst possible scenarios, the worst possible outcomes, and they live through, they experience, they feel millions of different tragedies that never actually come into being. But they're constantly visualizing all the worst possible things that could happen. And they program themselves with that mindset, and they go out into the world and they act in ways that align with that belief system. They assume the worst and it ends up being so. They predict the worst and that's what ends up happening, just as they expected. And instead of looking for things to be grateful for, they go through life looking for reasons to complain. You see, the truth of the matter is, all of us are practicing magic every day of our life. Most of us just have no idea that's what we're doing. But once you start taking control of your mind, once you start appreciating the magical nature of reality and you start using it for good in your life, you'll realize just how powerful all of this stuff actually is. And in my experience, no matter what your belief system around what magic is, these 6 steps, these principles are the key to making it work for you. And they'll work even if you don't believe in magic. Clearly define what it is that you want, speak of it as if you already have it, visualize and feel what it'll be like to have it, act in a way that aligns with it being so, assume it to be so, and exercise a spirit of gratitude. Do these 6 things and you will experience the power of magic in your own life. Now, like I said, this is a big subject and there's no way that I could have covered the entire thing in a simple YouTube video or podcast episode. And by no means am I a guru or expert on the subject. I'm still very much a neophyte in my own practice. So if I missed something, if I got something wrong, if there's a huge gap in my understanding, let me know in the comments down below. I do my best to engage with everybody who comments. If you enjoyed this video and you know somebody who needs to hear this message, make sure that you send it to them, bring it to their attention, and thank you for spending your time with me today. I truly do appreciate it. I'm Nathan Frazier, internet marketer with face tattoos, and I'm out of here. Deuces. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're subscribed so you always catch the content we create for you in the future.